Chapter 91. Weirdo, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown Translations Editor. Noodletown Translations 70.3 thousand yuan. Huamian's mouth dropped wide open after she heard his answer. A bowl of noodles is 2 yuan, if we eat one bowl a day it will be 4 yuan for 2 people. In 1 year that's 1,460 yuan. It will be 70.3 thousand in 50 years, Qin Chu immediately said afterward. So, you basically deposited enough money to buy noodles for the next 50 years, Huamian said, bewildered. I want to eat ramen with you my whole life. That's all, Qin Chu looked Huamian in the eye and said. Then, the noodle shop's owner interrupted, I promised this kid that I would get my kids to inherit this noodle house if I ever become too old to make them. We will make sure the tab is kept clear. That's not what I mean Xian, I just think. This is so bizarre, Huamian explained. Not to me, Qin Chu said innocently. Okay, never mind. Huamian still couldn't get over what happened as they were leaving the noodle house. If a man was willing to eat ramen with you his whole life, doesn't it also mean that he wants to spend the rest of his life with you? Does it? Could she and Qin Chu be like this their entire lives? She didn't dare think or dream about it. BL.net, you look like you are concentrating really hard on something. You must be contemplating things related to me. Qin Chu glanced at Huamian, who looked absent-minded. Could you be any more self-absorbed, President Qin? Huamian rolled her eyes at him. Am I wrong? You know, I can't believe the noodle house stayed exactly the same. I can't imagine how they did it, not changing the price for 7 years. Xian is such a nice business owner, Huamian said in an attempt to change the subject and cover up the fact that Qin Chu was, in fact, correct. I see that you are trying to change the subject. So was I right then? You are unbelievable, said Huamian. She felt a little speechless. You're not a belly worm in my stomach, even twins can't guess what the other person is thinking, Huamian said. She then turned her head away from him in an attempt to disengage from the further conversation. Qin Chu didn't say a word. He simply smirked quietly. Qin Chu drove the car to First Hospital. Huamian bought some takeout for Jixin as dinner. Jing Jixin recovered very well after the surgery. His mom would come and take care of him during the day, and a caretaker Huamian hired came during the night. This way, Jing Jixin was taken care of at all times. Huamian chatted with Jixin a little and noticed that it was getting late. She was contemplating whether she should stay over at the hospital since she had to work the next day. Zhu Lingling's phone call came in just then. She invited her out for dinner. At a Thai restaurant in the downtown district of Sea City. Zhu Lingling looked beautiful in her flaming red dress. Huamian still wore the same black dress that she wore for the funeral. Mian, here. You're here early. Huamian smiled. There might not be any seats left if I didn't come early. The pineapple rice here is delicious, you should try it. Okay. Huamian smiled and slid into her seat gracefully. Hey, that is a Versace dress. Qin Chu is so generous. As an airline stewardess, Zhu Lingling sometimes worked as a private purchasing agent, so she was familiar with luxury goods. That's not the point, all right. The point is I just came from Grandma Hua's funeral. That's why I'm wearing a black dress. Oh yes, tell me about the family. Was that super rich dad of yours surprised to see you? Did you see Prince Hua? Was he a handsome gentleman? Was Hua Yanyan still as annoying as she used to be? Zhu Lingling was immediately in gossip mode. Hua Xiqian. Handsome. Gentleman. Those words couldn't possibly be associated with him, Huamian thought. You've asked so many questions, I don't even know which to answer first. Huamian took a sip of her tea. Okay, I will ask one question at a time then. Have you and Qin Chu done it yet? Huamian almost spat out her tea in utter surprise. Chapter 92. Blessing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown translated editor. Noodletown translated, what kind of reaction is that? Don't tell me you guys haven't done it yet, said Zhu Lingling, looking stunned. Of course not, we've been sleeping in separate bedrooms. What? Separate bedrooms? So, what the heck was the point of getting married? Zhu Lingling asked with slight disdain. Just because we are married doesn't mean we have to sleep together. You already know that I only agreed to marry him so Zhixin could get the surgery. But you guys are husband and wife now, and that's a fact. Huamian replied with silence, as a melancholic look appeared on her face. Huamian had no idea that things would turn out the way they did. She no longer had any idea of how she and Qin Chu would get along from now on. Okay, I will stop talking about this depressing topic. This is my new boyfriend, what do you think? Zhu Lingling pulled out her phone and showed Huamian a photo of her standing intimately next to a man. Will this one last more than 3 months? Huamian asked with a worried look on her face. This one is rich and talented. I don't think there will be a problem. Ha! This guy is a smart businessman, and I'm going for the long run this time. It's for real this time, girl. While Huamian listened to Zhu Lingling's sincere and serious promise, she still felt a little skeptical about the whole situation. You say you are for real every time, but it never lasts for more than 3 months. Not my fault that none of my relationships were true love. Zhu Lingling rested her chin on her palms and smiled. Fine. Have you ordered food yet? I'm starving. Huamian smiled back. Yup, you are treating today. You've married rich. I must rip you off a little. Zhu Lingling stuck out her tongue playfully. It's on me, no problem. Huamian patted her chest reassuringly. Whoa. Must be nice to be rich. Here, boss, a toast to you. Congratulations on your marriage. Let's change the blessing, this one is no good, Huamian said indecisively. Who cares? Let me tell you something, Mian. We only live for so long, don't be so hesitant all the time. Don't dread the past, fear the future, and end up accomplishing absolutely nothing in the end. Don't wait until you are old, and then regret the choices that you didn't make. If you ask me, your relationship with Qin Chu is a simple one. You love him, and he loves you. So, be together, and deal with the rest later. Huamian smiled bitterly. Lingling, things are not as easy as you crack them up to be. Sometimes it's difficult for you to try to walk a mile in my shoes. It can be hard for you to understand what I'm going through. But it's fine, let's not talk about this. We barely have time to have dinner together anymore, so let's just enjoy ourselves. The two women raised their glasses and toasted. The meal cost 700 yuan, so it was a little luxurious indeed. But as soon as Huamian paid for the bill, Zhu Lingling stuffed a big red envelope into her hands. What is this? Huamian asked in disbelief. Your wedding gift. Dude, I didn't even have a wedding. Huamian didn't know whether she should laugh or cry. Yes, but you guys are married on paper. It's common courtesy. Fine, you win. Huamian willingly accepted Zhu Lingling's red envelope. Just by the look of it, there were at least 5,000 yuan in there. If there was anything that made Huamian feel happy these past years, it was the fact that she had Zhu Lingling as her best friend. She was always by her side whenever Huamian needed help. Huamian used to think that perhaps friendship would last longer than love. After dinner with Zhu Lingling, Huamian took a taxi back to Imperial Park. Her phone started ringing right as she was about to get off the taxi. Ms. Hua, I'm Mr. Luo, the lawyer. What do you want? Huamian's face turned dark as soon as she heard the voice on the other line. Ms. Hua, I'm calling you to tell you that you no longer need to go through the trouble of suing anymore. Are you trying to settle with me again? Huamian laughed coldly. No, something happened to my client. What? Huamian couldn't believe her ears as she asked again. Chapter 93. Influential figures. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown translated editor. Noodletown translated that, Mr. Luo, can you clarify? I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Huamian was not sure what to believe. After all, this was the same person who had been super arrogant and overbearing only a few days ago. What happened to the connections he had bragged about? What about the client's relatives, who were supposedly influential figures in politics? Something happened at my client's family 2 nights ago. He was taken in for questioning under suspected corruption charges, and the Ministry of Transportation also stated that they would closely investigate the serial car crash incident that happened on the university campus. If he is found guilty, my client Luigang will be sentenced to 5 to 10 years in prison. Whoa, that's great. That just goes to show that you can't hide from the law forever. Huamian smirked. Wow, karma sure acts fast, she thought. But I'm still very confused. Isn't it too much of a coincidence that the Ministry of Transportation launched an investigation at the same time my client was arrested? The press wasn't even conducting any follow-up reports. What are you trying to say? Huamian could tell that he was trying to hint something. Well, please forgive me for anything I did that might have offended you in the past. Miss Hua, you clearly have the support of some influential figures, seeing that you have the ability to alert both the Ministries of Transportation and Finance in such short notice. Such power is truly terrifying, so I am calling today to apologize for any inconveniences I may have caused you. If you don't mind, I'd like to show my sincerity by treating you to a meal. I think I understand what you're trying to say, but I'll pass on the meal. There's no need for me to sue any longer as the accused has already been arrested. However, I don't know what you mean by influential figures. Some things are better left unsaid, but anyways. Miss Hua, you are a lucky person and are one that I cannot cross. Please be so kind as to overlook my previous offenses. After hanging up, Huamian came to a suspicious realization. The only person she mentioned this issue to was Qin Chu. Did he help her out? Wasn't it too much of a coincidence for the car crash and the arrest to happen simultaneously? She found it hard to believe that such luck was due to an act of God. With her head full of heavy thoughts, Huamian returned to Imperial Park. Qin Chu was working overtime, so Huamian was home alone, and her OCD was triggered. After mopping the entire living room floor, her forehead was covered in sweat. Just as she was getting ready to go shower, she heard the sound of key jingling in the front door. Slowly, she began to get nervous. Weird, since it's not like it could be anyone other than Qin Chu. Even so, she became unexplainably nervous. You didn't need to work the night shift today. She wasn't sure when it started, but at some point, he began to know her schedule better than she did herself. No, I came home after having dinner with Lingling. Qin Chu nodded silently, seemingly exhausted, and walked upstairs after removing his coat. Have you eaten yet? Yeah. Qin Chu paused and turned back to reply to Huamian. Oh, Huamian replied distractedly. Did you have something to say to me? Qin Chu probed her after noticing that she had something on her mind. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Qin Chu turned around and walked back downstairs, sitting down on the sofa. Do you know who caused my brother's accident? Huamian cautiously asked while taking note of Qin Chu's facial expressions. Mian, don't beat around the bushes, just ask me whatever it is you want to ask. You know how well I know you. Qin Chu dictated each word carefully, never breaking eye contact, making Huamian feel as if he could see right through her. Chapter 94. The Cold War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown translated editor. Noodletown translated. Huamian saw what was happening. She took a deep breath, walked over and said, "All right, if this is the case, I will put it out there. The culprit who hit my brother had something going on in his family. You probably didn't know that I was going to sue them, but the lawyer said there's no need anymore. The culprit was taken away by the Ministry of Transportation. His high-profile parents were detained and are being investigated by the Ministry of Finance. I don't need to sue anymore." "So?" Chin Chu asked, looking at Huamian intently. "I don't believe this was a coincidence or karma. I think someone had their hands behind all this. I can't think of anyone other than you. If you already made up your mind and think it was me, then why bother asking? Don't you already have your answer? I just want to hear you say it." Huamian was getting a little emotional. "Yes, I asked someone to do it. Isn't it better this way? Otherwise, you wouldn't win the case. Do you know how ridiculous you are?" With his head down, Chin Chu took a lighter out from his pocket and fiddled with it in his hands. "I know it's ridiculous and I know you did this for my own good. But Mr. Chin Chu, in the future would you please give me a heads up before you do nice things for me? I prepared all the materials for the lawsuit like an idiot." Chin Chu slowly lifted his head and glared at Huamian. "I thought you would be happy that I did this. You didn't do anything wrong. Those people deserved it, but I have the right to know what's going on. I don't want to be like an ignorant child, and you don't need to pretend to be my savior, okay? You can't save me. You couldn't save me 7 years ago, and you can't now either." After she finished talking and before Chin Chu could say anything, Huamian turned around and went upstairs, leaving him no chance to open his mouth and respond. Looking at that delicate figure from behind, Chin Chu's eyes filled with loneliness. Then he thought aloud to himself, "Mian, I just thought, if the world lacks justice, I will become the justice you need." Unfortunately, Huamian didn't hear this. In fact, the relationship between two people can be very complicated. People have different personalities, and therefore misunderstandings occur frequently. There are some words that if left unsaid, one wouldn't understand. There are some words that even if said, one still wouldn't understand. There are also words that even unsaid, one would still understand. Chin Chu thought that he could make that decision by himself for Huamian's good, but Huamian thought like she had been left in the dark. His actions hurt her self-esteem. Huamian went to her room but couldn't sleep the entire night. She wasn't in a good mood either. The next morning, she got up at 6 a.m. for work to avoid seeing Chin Chu. But she still bumped into him in the living room. "You're up early." Chin Chu was in a white shirt, holding 2 glasses of milk in his hands. "Yeah," she said, clearly trying to breeze past him. "Have some breakfast before you leave." "No, I'm not hungry." Huamian opened the door and walked out. First hospital. Huamian helped discharge Jixin from the hospital and then got him a cab home. "Mom, the doctor said Jixin still needs to rest for a month. I told the school already. It will probably be hard work taking care of him. Make him some ginseng soup to help him recover." "I know. Do I really need you to tell me this?" Yang Meirong said dryly. "Sis, have some food before you leave. I want to have lunch with you." Jixin sewed a smile full of sunshine. "Raincheck, I still have things to do at the hospital. I'm going back to work, and I will visit you during my break." After she finished speaking, Huamian walked out. Yang Meirong followed her out. This was an abandoned suburban area in Sea City. There were a lot of bungalows here for ordinary people to live in because it hadn't been developed yet. After Huamian's grandparents passed away, Yang Meirong, their only child, inherited the property. It was a small courtyard house. It had east and west wings and an old elm tree by the front of the door. Although the house was old and broken, it was neat and clean. Yang Mayorong made a living by running a little grocery store in the shed by the door. They lived here for many years. Huamian was nostalgic towards this place. "Wait up, I have something to ask you," Yang Mayorong chased after her, shouting from behind. Chapter 95. How to Beg for Forgiveness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown translated editor. Noodletown translated. Huamian turned around to see her mother catching up with her. "Mom, what's wrong? Did that asshole say anything to you when you went?" Yang Mayorong asked with a grim expression. Huamian immediately knew who her mom was talking about, and she lowered her voice. "He asked me how you've been doing these past few years." "Bullshit, if I was doing well, would I open a small grocery store in this damn place? Damn heartless douchebag." Yang Mayorong's face was filled with rage. Huamian remained silent. "What I meant was, did he ask you to work for the Hua Corporation? You are his daughter after all." "Oh, yeah, he asked me if I wanted to go back and I said no," Huamian replied honestly. "What? You said no? Are you an idiot?" Yang Mayorong pushed Huamian so hard that she almost fell to the ground. "Mom, you know that we've been doing well without his help all these years." "No, we are not doing well." "Why on earth would you think we are doing well? Your grades were so good, but you only attended a second-rate medical school in our city. You're not even a doctor, just a nurse intern. When Jishin got into that accident and needed money for his operation, you had to borrow money from everyone you knew. As for me, I'm working my ass off in a grocery shop in this stupid neighborhood. Does that seem well to you?" Yang Mayorong was getting a little emotional. "But Mom, at least we lived all these years peacefully. If you live in luxury, you would have to fight and scheme with others. Is that really what you want?" Her mother didn't say anything after hearing what Huamian said. "When I was there this time, I saw the feud between those two women and the conspiracies between their children. I don't think there's anything crueler than that. The only thing left between the members of their family is personal gain. Do you want me to become like that? But at least we would have money and wouldn't have to suffer. I have money, and I can make more. Mom, don't worry. I will help you and Jishin live a comfortable life. I am not going back to the Hua family even if you yell at me or hit me, period." Huamian's attitude was firm. No matter what Yang Mayorong said, she made it clear that she was not going back to the Hua family. When this gal was as stubborn as this, nobody could do anything about it. Huamian left home and went straight to the first hospital for her shift. Qin Chu, however, stayed at the GK headquarters all day long, looking particularly depressed. "President Qin isn't very happy today. You all better do your jobs well and don't make any mistakes." "Got it." Assistant Yang sneakily said to the female assistants who were organizing materials in the assistant's office. "He doesn't look too bad. You can never tell if he's happy or not, he always looks like that. Actually, you can't even tell any of his emotions from his face. Anyways. Assistant Yang, how did you know his mood? If I couldn't tell, I wouldn't be much of his personal assistant. Anyways, you guys need to be careful. Don't cause any trouble." After he finished talking, he knocked on the door and went into the president's office. "President Qin, this is what your schedule looks like for this afternoon. First you have the meeting with the clients from Thailand at 2 p.m., golf with President Zheng from Tianhe Trading Company at 4:30 p.m., and a charity banquet tonight at 6. "Got it," Qin Chu answered, obviously distracted. President Qin, do you have a date for the banquet?" Assistant Yang asked hesitantly. "No. Do you want?" "No." He was shut down by Qin Chu before he could finish his sentence. "Okay, I'll just see myself out now." Then Assistant Yang headed out. He wondered what could be wrong with the president. For one, he didn't drive that low key white Volkswagen CC today. Instead, he switched to a high-profile Maybach of the most expensive make. It was extremely flashy. Second, instead of Renee, Milk Tea, Lou's songs, a sad English song lingered in the president's office. So, he boldly guessed that the president was not in a good mood. Maybe he was fighting with his girlfriend. Just as he was thinking this over, Assistant Yang heard the president's voice from behind. Wait. President Qin, can I assist with anything else? If a woman is mad at you, how do you reconcile with her? Reconcile. Assistant Yang was confused. Sir, do you want to know how to make a girl stop being angry at you? Assistant Yang asked, not sure if that was what he was referring to. Pretty much, Qin Chu said as he typed quickly on his laptop. So, sir, did you make your girlfriend mad? Assistant Yang asked fearlessly. His question was soon followed by the president's deadly glare. Chapter 96. Drinking Buddy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown translated editor. Noodletown translated, I didn't hire you to gossip about my private matters. Yes, I understand, boss. All I meant was that I need to know what happened first to give you advice. I am experienced in these things. I courted my wife for 3 years before she agreed to go out with me. We dated for 2 years and then, after knowing each other for almost 5 years, we got married. My wife is an incredibly unique woman, and thanks to her, I've gotten very good at making her happy. Assistant Yang smiled. Tell me what you would do. Buy her flowers. Buy her 90.9 red roses and deliver them to her at work. Cheesy, Qin Chu said coldly. Buy her gifts then. Expensive ones. Diamonds, rings or other stuff like that. Girls usually love them. She doesn't. Qin Chu knew Hua Mian too well. She didn't care about materialistic things. Then pretend to deliver her a package. You can hide in the box, and surprise her. Haha. When I did that, my wife was so freaked out that she actually burst into te. Assistant Yang swallowed the rest of the sentence before he finished because he realized that the president's face had become even grimmer. You can leave now. I need peace. Qin Chu seriously wondered if his assistant was there to help him, or to make things more difficult. How did he get a wife, with an EQ as low as this? It was a mystery. Okay, boss. Assistant Yang walked out glumly. He suddenly remembered something. Was the name of the president's girlfriend Peace? He just said that he needed peace. However, he did get one thing right. His boss really was missing someone, but her name was not Peace. Qin Chu grabbed his phone several times, wondering if he should call her. However, he also thought it might not be an appropriate time because they were still giving each other the silent treatment. He didn't have anything to say anyway. He repressed his yearnings and knocked his right hand anxiously on the desk, without a rhythm. He looked extremely out of sorts. However, Gao Ran's phone call came in at the right moment. Hey, I haven't heard from you since I helped you out last time. Aren't you supposed to buy me a drink? Let's go. Right now. Gao Ran was stunned. Yes, right now, the same old Sichuan restaurant down south. See you later. After he finished talking, Qin Chu put on his sapphire-colored slim-fit suit jacket, grabbed his phone, opened the door, and walked out. The female assistants in the assistant's office immediately began to fawn over him. The president looks super hot in those clothes, doesn't he? It doesn't matter what he wears. He's good looking, so he'll look good wearing anything, or just nothing. Yeah, I don't even need to talk to him, I am satisfied just by looking at him. I wonder what type of girl he likes. I am so jealous of her. Inside the Sichuan restaurant. Gao Ran and Qin Chu sat across from each other in a private room on the second floor. You looked bummed, Gao Ran started the conversation. Qin Chu didn't say anything. Instead, he filled up 2 cups with baijiu. He passed one to Gao Ran and left one for himself. Then, he raised the cup and gestured at it. Gao Ran took the hint, and chugged it. Now this is strong. Wine and liquor are jokes. In my opinion, our Chinese grain-brewed baijiu is the best. 3 shots and my whole body is on fire. It's a painfully amazing feeling, huh? You are pretty chill lately, aren't you? Qin Chu raised his head and looked at him. Yeah, the criminal police only take on big cases, and trivial cases are left for the local police stations. We have nothing to do with them. That's good. I kinda admire you. You can stick with one job and live peacefully until you get old. I admire you. You are the boss of your company and are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. I bet you have pretty girls throwing themselves at you every day. Ran, I got married. Qin Chu's lips quirked up into a deep smile. Fortunately, Gao Ran had already swallowed the baijiu, otherwise, he would definitely have choked on it. Chapter 97. Agreement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown translated editor. Noodletown translated, wait a minute, what did you just say? I'm married. Stop pulling my leg, it's not April Fool's today. Gao Ran didn't believe him. I'm not kidding. But, this is big, how have I not heard about this? The press didn't report it either. This doesn't make sense. We just got our license and didn't hold a wedding. Besides, she didn't want to go public with our marriage. You married Hua Mian. Gao Ran probed after regaining his senses from the shock. Qin Chu nodded. This woman is literally the end of you. I really don't see what's so great about her. When we were in school, she was so bossy and cocky. She hurt you so much back in the day. If I were you, I would have found someone much better than her purely out of revenge. But in my eyes, there's no one better than her in this world, Qin Chu said, with sadness in his eyes. Alright, don't say these cheesy words to me. But don't you think that you are rushing into this? Marriage is such a serious thing. Didn't you think it through? Gao Ran felt like the news Qin Chu dropped on him was like a bomb going off in his brain that blew away all thoughts and logic. I decided that I wanted to marry her 7 years ago. I don't need to think it through anymore, Qin Chu answered firmly. But, Chu, people change. The Hua Mian 7 years ago might be different than she is now. No matter how she changes, she's still Hua Mian. That's good enough. After hearing what Qin Chu said, Gao Ran's eyes turned red. He raised his cup. I am AF * King Dude, but if I were a chick, I would chase you to the end of the earth. It's probably easier to discover national treasures than to find someone who's loyal and rich like you. Qin Chu remained silent at Gao Ran's words. Under the influence of alcohol, Gao Ran suddenly asked, Dude, tell me the truth, what agreement did you and your dad make 7 years ago? I am so curious. Qin Chu raised his head and answered slowly, 7 years ago, I told my dad that I was going to marry Hua Mian. He gave me his blessing, but I would have to go overseas and come back to take over the family business and GK. What's more is that I couldn't come back to visit during that 7 years, nor could I keep in touch with anyone, especially Hua Mian. If I did, I would be violating our agreement. If I could do it and make it back 7 years later, and neither of us was married, he would allow us to get married. Gosh, so this is why you left without saying anything. Gao Ran was surprised. Qin Chu looked out the window, his eyes becoming deep and pensive. I was still young 7 years ago and couldn't provide her with a comfortable life. If we blindly rushed into marriage together, it would have been a tragedy. It's better that I suffer through a temporary painful separation of 7 years in exchange for a happily ever after with her. Gao Ran's eyes were filled with astonishment. Qin Chu, does she know you did this? No, she doesn't. God, this woman doesn't know anything. You are such a... Gao Ran didn't know what to say anymore. He thought that Qin Chu's persistence had exceeded the normal range. Chu, I think you might be obsessed. I would say go see a psychiatrist. It's not good for you. So what if I'm obsessed? The only thing I'm obsessed with is her. I don't care about anything else. Staring at Qin Chu for a while, Gao Ran said profoundly, Huamian is really lucky. But she didn't easily say yes to the marriage rite. Based on what I know about her. Gao Ran knew what kind of person Huamian was, he also knew about the drama between them 7 years ago. Right, so I blackmailed her. I proposed marriage when she needed my help. But, aren't you afraid that she will hate you for what you did? Gao Ran looked at his friend sympathetically. Qin Chu's eyes dimmed a little at his question. Chapter 98. Going Crazy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown translated editor. Noodletown translated, one day, she will understand. After saying that, Qin Chu lifted the shot glass in his hand and downed it. Gao Ran had originally wanted to get drinks with his good friend to cheer him up, but instead, he seemed more depressed. Upon leaving, Qin Chu had to help Gao Ran walk, who seemed to be mildly drunk. Chu, I'm telling you, that brat Huamian has such a screwed-up personality. Liking her is like asking for misery, but I'm also so envious of you. To have someone like that appear in your lifetime, taking up your entire life, to feel love for her so deep in your bones, it's really something for others to be jealous of. Gao Ran said in a drunken manner. In the end it was Qin Chu who drove Gao Ran back to the bureau in his Maybach. Apparently Gao Ran had to work the night shift. A couple of the policemen at the Municipal Public Security Bureau began to gossip. Hey, that guy who just dropped off our captain seems to be a really good friend of his. Yeah, he's also really good looking. Even I'm jealous of him and I'm a man. What if the reason why the captain has never had a girlfriend is that he actually likes men? No way. But the captain is so masculine. If he was gay, I'd bet that he's the one on top. Looks like you all have gotten too bored recently. Everyone needs to go out on a mission. Now. At some point, Gao Ran appeared in the doorway holding his head. He had originally wanted to drink some water but ended up hearing the others talking about him. Ha, Captain, we're just joking, but speaking of, that car your friend drove was so flashy. He must be some rich guy, right? Not only is he rich, he has so much money that you wouldn't be able to spend it all in this lifetime, Gao Ran said after taking a sip of water. Captain, does that friend of yours have a girlfriend yet? My third sister is 27 years old this year, and she has a master's degree. Gao Ran flicked the younger policeman in the head, cutting him off mid-sentence. Song, didn't you say that you were saving your sister for Captain Gao last time? Another officer interjected. Gao Ran became stressed just listening to them. Huamian was busy at the hospital all day, occasionally pulling out her phone to check the time. Her phone was exceptionally quiet today. Not even a single call. Looks like my words last night were too harsh. Is he angry now? Huamian thought. Following this, she got up with her cup and walked to the lounge to get some water, but ended up bumping into Ning Ziyuan right outside the door. Mian. Ning Ziyuan's face was slightly red, and his breath reeked of alcohol. Did you want something? I'm here for you. He stepped closer, and Huamian unconsciously took 2 steps back, increasing the distance between them. What is it, tell me? Are you still unwilling to forgive me? Ziyuan, we've talked about this before, I don't want to continue this conversation. Huamian looked at him, speaking calmly. Mian, but I can't let go of you. I can't forget you. Ning Ziyuan's eyes were red as if he had been crying. Ziyuan, we're not kids anymore, don't be like this. I know I was wrong, Mian, I'm sorry, give me another chance, one last chance, okay? Let's not mention the past anymore, let's just stick to our original plan and get married, okay? I'll give you back your portion of the down payment on the apartment, you don't need to worry about the mortgage, and I'll let you drive my car. I'll transfer the ownership to your name, okay? None of these were fundamental issues, Ziyuan, we can't go back. I can't turn a blind eye to everything that happened. It's like if someone stabbed you, yes, the wound will eventually heal, but there would still be a scar. Do you understand? I don't understand, anyway. I miss you, I want to be with you. Concluding his thoughts, Ning Ziyuan drunkenly threw himself at Huamian. He roughly pressed Huamian onto the desk behind her. Ning Ziyuan, what are you doing? Let go of me. Huamian struggled desperately. But no matter what Huamian said, Ning Ziyuan ignored her and leaned down to kiss Huamian's ruby lips. Chapter 99. Genius. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown Translations. Editor. Noodletown Translations. At that crucial moment, Huamian grabbed a porcelain pen holder from the desk behind her and smashed it on Ning Ziyuan's head. With a crashing sound, Ning Ziyuan's movements came to a violent pause, his entire body froze. Taking advantage of his momentary confusion, Huamian escaped from his grasp and fled away from him. Mian, did you actually hit me? Ning Ziyuan laughed coldly, with a furious look in his eyes. Everything happened because of you, Ziyuan. There was no love between us, so there isn't any hate either. You've treated me with great kindness over the past few years, and I don't owe you anything as I have done my best to repay you. You don't owe me anything. Huamian, when I was trying to win you over, I bought you a lot of things. Wasn't I the one who made sure you weren't cold and were well looked after? How can you say these things? Don't you have a conscience, huh? Did a dog eat it, you ungrateful woman? Ning Ziyuan covered his swollen forehead, sneering sinisterly. Huamian maintained her calm demeanor, the gaze with which she used to look at Ning Ziyuan was now complicated, with an additional hint of sympathy. True, you did buy me a lot of things back then, but the combined cost of all those things was probably less than 30,000 yuan. I gave you the 60,000 I had saved up for you to use as the down payment for the apartment. The apartment was purchased under your name alone, and since I don't want that money anymore, you can just call it even. In the end, who do you think really owes the other? Fine, so even if you don't owe me from a monetary perspective, what about emotionally? Can you put a monetary value on that? Can you make up for all the emotional effort I've given these years? Ning Ziyuan roared. Huamian smiled faintly after hearing his words. Ziyuan, given how long we've known each other, you should know that I'm not a calculating person. But since you brought this up, I might as well speak the truth. Honestly, you've been very good to me these past few years, but I haven't treated you poorly either. I often visited your parents, and when your relatives came to the hospital for treatment, not only did I pull connections to get them hospital rooms, I also watched and took care of them through the night. All this was for you, and most importantly. Ning Ziyuan, I'm asking you, if you didn't have me, would you be as accomplished as you are today? Do you think you would have successfully become a doctor at the first hospital? You. What do you mean? Ning Ziyuan clearly felt guilty. My point is obvious. With your grades, you never would have graduated from medical school. I was the one who wrote your thesis, and because your thesis on techniques in ophthalmology was outstanding, the first hospital's ophthalmology department made an exception and accepted you. And even after that, for all these years that you've been on the job, every time you had to write a thesis or report, I was the one who wrote it for you. Isn't all that enough? Tell me, at this moment, what do I owe you? After Ning Ziyuan finished listening to Huamian speak, he was rendered speechless. If Huamian hadn't reminded him, he would have almost fooled himself into thinking that he was an exceptional ophthalmologist. But everything was done by Huamian on his behalf, as his grades during medical school were very mediocre. Back then, when it was close to graduation, he felt too stressed out and frequently ditched class to go gaming with his roommates. In the end, he almost couldn't graduate. Even the most important component in his graduation, his thesis, was written by Huamian. And because of that exceptionally well-written thesis, he was given the opportunity to work at the first hospital. Since then, whenever the hospital conducted employee evaluations, he would get Huamian to help him prepare for them. He had enjoyed the results, feeling as if his reputation of being a genius doctor was justified. However, was he really the genius? Of course not, someone else was the genius, but the other people didn't know that. So what do you want? Are you going to report me to the hospital? No one will believe it, after all. There's no evidence, Ning Ziyuan said smugly. Huamian's eyes filled with disappointment after hearing what he said. She didn't know that one could turn so despicable after a breakup. Evidence. Of course, I have evidence. You do. I don't believe it. You were so trusting of me, so there's no way you would leave behind any evidence. Ning Ziyuan remained unyielding, but his mind became anxious. Chapter 100. Rich, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Noodletown Translated Editor. Noodletown translated, see, if you knew how trusting I was of you at the time, what are you feeling anxious about? What are you afraid of? You think I'd report you? I really don't have the time for that, nor the need to. After all, it wouldn't benefit me. Ziyuan, I just want to say that we may have broken up, but we are not enemies. We were together for a long time, and we can't become friends because we've hurt each other in the past. I admit, it was because of Qin Chu's unexpected interference that caused our relationship to fragment, but the things that you did afterward truly disappointed me. So, there won't be any more interactions between us, and we will never get back together. I believe, with your current reputation and status, there will be many amazing girls who are lining up for a chance to date you, and you will be fine without me, right? Of course, Ning Ziyuan immediately replied. Great. I'll forget what happened today, but don't do it again. Please take a left once you exit this room. I won't bother to show you out, Huamian ordered strictly. Ning Ziyuan held his bruised forehead and turned to leave dejectedly. Suddenly, he turned back to look at Huamian. Huamian immediately became alert. Huamian, since things have turned out this way, I just want to get an honest answer from you. I never loved you, Huamian coldly spoke these words. Okay, I understand. Ning Ziyuan smiled bitterly, turning around to leave. Huamian finally let out a sigh of relief. She never thought that Ning Ziyuan would suddenly come and cause such a disruption. Thankfully, there was no one else in the clinic, or else she would have been so embarrassed. Not long after, Huang Yu walked in and, upon seeing the pen holder on the floor, she exclaimed, "Oh my God, what happened? My poor pen holder. I'm sorry, I accidentally knocked it over when I was grabbing something earlier. I'll buy you a new one." Huang Yu pursed her lips, looking like she had been bullied. "I'll even throw in a family bucket from KFC," knowing the nurse's personality, Huamian immediately added. Okay, deal. Huang Yu immediately perked up. On that note, Mian, you've been very generous lately, even treating me to KFC. Tell me, did you get rich recently? No, if I were rich, I would have quit a long time ago. Then did you find a rich guy to lean on? Huang Yu asked secretively. Huamian thought for a bit. Does Qin Chu count as a rich guy? Not really, he was more of a billionaire, right? So, she shook her head, nope, no rich guy to lean on. Oh, I got it, your brother's case was resolved, wasn't it? The perpetrator must have paid a lot of money, right? Huang Yu smiled happily. Yeah, that's right. Gosh, you are smart. Huamian was afraid of her probing deeper, so she nodded her head vaguely. But in reality, she didn't get any money from Jixin's case. All the other victims did, but she originally wanted to sue them in court and receive payment for the hospital bills. But she never thought that in the end, thanks to Qin Chu's involvement, the perpetrator's entire family were met with disaster. He was already locked up, so what more could he give as compensation? Either way, the fact that Jixin was okay was already her biggest comfort. Oh right, it's lunchtime, let's go to the cafeteria. If we're late, then all the good dishes will be gone. Not waiting for Huamian to reply, Huang Yu dragged her towards the cafeteria in a hurry. The hospital's cafeteria was on the second-floor basement and could only be accessed by the hospital staff. But most doctors didn't eat there since their high incomes allowed them to order delivery. On the other hand, intern nurses like Huamian and Huang Yu had low incomes and few bonuses, and would, therefore, come here to eat. At lunchtime, the cafeteria would usually be crowded with people, but the overall environment was pretty good. Huang Yu and Huamian found a table with seats facing each other in a corner, and they had just settled in when they heard a female voice yell rudely, "Huamian, you bitch! Come out here."